Hello, everyone. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker Training. I'm Richard Carlton, creator of FMTrain.tv, where every day at 1 o'clock, myself or someone duly designated and appointed by Richard will be here doing live streams on the FileMaker platform. We're excited to see our normal cast of characters here, including people who just can't give up on the world of FileMaker. They're retired, they're on a boat, they're enjoying life back, but yet they are still here. So today is going to be, we're going to pick up day 5 today with HOnza. We'll get to that momentarily. Monday, Tuesday next week, we got some monkey spread action going on with Christian Schmidt. And then Wednesday next week, I don't know what Nick's doing. It's Nick doing Nick stuff. So that's going to be day 1, day 2 with some Nick action. And then Friday next week, we've got open Q&A with Calvin. Oh, as a reminder, for those of you who are unaware of all the content we have, if you go over here to bundles, we have these bundles, right? And if you haven't purchased a bundle yet, definitely recommend you do it. This is good training, and it says there's 100 hours of training here. It's actually way over 100 hours of training. We actually added up the other day, and it's a considerable pile of training. So, and that is the training. You can only get that if you pay for it. It's not free on YouTube. So if you want a cohesive training package, and that's what you have to do. Now, if you're looking for help with building applications for the iPhone or iPad, and you've got something working in FileMaker Go, then you need to do a search. I'm going to do this. I'm going to help us out here. You're going to have to do a search for it's FM God E. Is that what it's called?
No, it's Xcode. It's Xcode.
It's not FXX, it's X God E. All right, let's try that.
And if you add just .com, you will get straight to it.
Oh, there we go. So if you go to X God E, that's what some of the folks here decided to call it. That's what happens when you have an audience that's interactive like we do, all of you there typing in, putting your little comments in there. Before long, you've moved the rudder of the ship, and the ship is changing course based upon all the comments. So this is a product that simplifies the process of building a runtime application for iPhone or iPad that's distributed through the Apple Store. It also, conveniently enough, okay, I'm not allowed to talk about this, so I'm going to put my hand over so no one can see what I'm about to say. It allows you to also build a runtime application and submit it to Apple's Apple Mac Store for distribution on Macs with Silicon processors. Claris got rid of runtimes, and now Apple has turned them back on. It was not a Claris decision. David says a license of FileMaker is about the current connections, kind of mostly, right? He's got a point, right? So if you build, so first to get the iOS app SDK, even with Xcode, you're going to have to buy the iOS app SDK, and you have a copy of FileMaker Go, and you go through Xcode, and you do all this work. It doesn't have to log into a FileMaker server to do stuff. It has a local, it must have at least one local FMP12 file. The local FMP12 file might be a launcher that opens up on the server, right? Opens up a file on the server, in which case then Claris is going to ching, you hear the cash register going ching, be able to charge you for that connection, right? If you have a 10-pack of connections and you do that, one connection is gone until that person disconnects if it's concurrency. So, but if you have an FMP12 file that doesn't go to FileMaker server, then Claris doesn't make any money on it. So I asked him, what do you, it was like an interview, like I have a microphone here. So, sir, what do you think about this idea? And it's like, what do you think? Well, no comment at this time, right? So that's what we've got at the moment, no comment. I'm assuming at some point in a month or two after legal has thought about it, they will have a comment. Or maybe it's no comment because we don't want to take a position. That's the thing. If they don't say anything, they don't take a position. It's vague. And so you don't know what you're looking at in terms of the legalities of it. But you can do it. It does work. We did it yesterday. Did it on Monday. It's awesome. So, yeah, the runtime only works on Silicon processors. They're M1s right now, M1, M1 Pro, M1 Max, M1 Deluxe, M1 Ultra, M1 Twofer, M1 51 Furfer. I mean, every cheesy name you could put on the end of an M1, right? Pro, Ultra, Deluxe. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, and then I guess they'll eventually have to call it an M2 then after that, right? So, Anyway.
I think the best will be M1X, like ecstasy.
Oh, X. Oh, M1X. Okay, so let's go to HOnza for the final day of awesomeness. Are you ready, HOnza? This Friday?
Yes, definitely. Friday ready. So we're on the day 5 of turning FileMaker databases to iOS apps. And on the first 4 days, we learned why you should be doing it instead of using FileMaker Go. Even if you don't want to distribute your app on the App Store, how to do it, how to build your app, how to submit it on the App Store, how to distribute it, and how to deal with Apple rejection of your app. And today, I'm going to show you the app update live demo, even with debugger, so that you know how the updating can work without going through the App Store. In the end, I'm going to give you the download links to Opener, App Installer, and Solver, so you can download all that stuff that I was showing and play with it on your own. And a little bit of information about some advanced things and small details that you may utilize along the way when building the apps. If you missed the first sessions, I have a good news for you that the first 2 are already online on YouTube, so you can watch them now. And today, let me start by just a brief recap of the different distribution methods. So basically, you have 4 choices how to get your app from your computer to the iOS device, whether it's iPhone or iPad, and different methods for different reasons. So today, instead of showing all the details, I'm showing when to use each method. So for ad hoc, that's a distribution method that's useful when you have small number of devices and you know them in advance, because you need to add the device ID to your developer account before building your app. Otherwise, it will not work on that device. But the benefit is that you don't have to go through the Apple's review process. So as soon as you build the app, you can share the link to the app to all people with those devices that were added to your account, and they can directly install it on their devices. So there is no delay, there is no review process, no conditions. You decide, you control, and you can get the apps installed immediately. One caveat. Ad hoc build is expiring when the distribution profile expires, and distribution profile can be made only for 1 year at maximum. So you will need to update those installed apps no later than before expiring the distribution profile. Test flight, that's intended for beta testing, but it can also be used for longer term. I am personally a beta tester for one app for more than 2 years now, and they just keep updating it at least every month or so. And so I have not installed the official published version of that app for more than 2 years, and I still keep using it. The point is that test flight builds are only valid for 90 days. But you can have up to 10,000 beta testers on your account. And a nice thing is that test flight can be set to auto-update all the installed apps, even without enabling auto-update in the App Store. So that's a thing that you might want to consider, although it's not officially intended for production release. The other benefit is that test flight only goes through a very simplified review process. It typically takes just a few hours from the time that you build your app to have it available on test flight. App Store, that's the official preferred way for apps to be published. If you publish your app in the App Store, everyone will see it, everyone will be able to download it. The only control you have is in which countries it's available. But if that's what you're looking for, it's definitely possible, even though Claris is not well, officially supporting it or encouraging you to publish the iOS App SDK built apps to be published on the App Store. They are at the same time making sure that it actually is possible. And when they release a new version which has problems with the App Store, they actually fix those problems so that it can be published on the App Store. There were situations with this. And for instance, I think last year Apple released some new restrictions which prevented FileMaker SDK 19.1, I believe, to be, or 18 version to be published on the App Store. So Clarus did actually make a fix to in the SDK to allow the apps built with it to be published. So that's another way. Another reason, in addition to wanting to have the app public to use the App Store, is when you have the customer in a country where Apple Business Manager or Apple School Manager is not available. We have had to deal with this situation specifically because we have customers in Africa, in Malawi, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and South Africa. And out of these countries, I believe South Africa is the only one, but maybe not even that one, to have access to the Apple Business Manager. But the App Store is available there. So what we have to do is we have to make the app public, which is kind of neat because we can promote it and we can find more customers to be interested in it. But it adds some extra effort because you need to make at least the public version of it before you log into a private system, look nice and make sense and go through the review process. So we had to provide some extra layout and extra step for initializing the app, where you actually open the app and it asks you for a token that you generate on the on-premise installed FileMaker server version of our product. And that way you pair it to the installed version and get access to the full features. So that's how you can deal with the App Store, even for customers where you need just private features which are for a specific customer. And finally, Apple Business Manager and Apple School Manager, two versions of the same thing, one for schools, one for businesses. That's probably going to be the one preferred by majority of FileMaker developers, because that's intended for custom-made apps where you make the app and the app is intended either for one or just a handful of customers. In this method, you just upload the app to the App Store and specify that it's distributed privately. And after that, you have to explicitly allow every single customer to have access to your app. So those are the methods how you can distribute your app. And now let's go to the demo. So yesterday I was talking about two ways to update your app after it's been published. So one of them was that you simply upload a new version of your app and push it through the App Store review process. The other one was having a kind of updating mechanism built into your app. So this is an app that I actually built it even prior to FileMaker iOS App SDK. This was even intended to simplify installation process in FileMaker Go, but it still works even with the built apps. Just one caveat here, this one does not have that data migration functionality, but it has the installation and update checking. So I have basically two versions of this app here, version 1.1, version 1.2. So this is a copy of the version 1.1. It's a very simple app that doesn't have anything in it. It just has hard-coded. Sorry, I need to open it with admin privileges. So let's try again with Alt, admin. So here on the layout, It has is just showing the version, and the version comes from a field here. So this here you can see that it's version 1.1 and build number 2. So this version I'm going to build as my app using Xcode. So I create a new build here, put all these files there. I make it, let's say it's the app. So I'm now setting up the build to be ad hoc so I can immediately install it on my phone. It has finished uploading the data, so I will select the app to be the primary file. That's the one that opens when I launch the app. Just a few additional mandatory fields here. And nothing unique. And that's it. I won't be putting there any custom icons, so I'll just go with the default one. And now it will take a few moments for the app to be built, but in the meantime, I can show you how the update process works, or the update checking. So basically, I have a text file here, which I upload to my web server, and that contains just a simple text showing the app 1.2 build 3. That basically is telling what is the current version available. I upload it to the web, and in the app itself, let's try. Okay, I will start debugger first and show you what happens. So when I open the app again, so it starts a script and it goes to script check for update. So in the check for update, I'm using insert from URL to grab the text file from the web server. And as you can see here, it just discovered that the latest version is the app 1.2 build 3. So it compares it to, it checks whether there was an error. It checks, compares it to the current version running I have open. And if it's not the same version, it shows me a dialog. Hey, there is a new version of this app available. Do you want to install it now? So if I choose install, it goes to another script, that is installer. So here again, there's insert from URL, and this time I'm actually downloading the new version into a container field. So you see it takes a little bit longer. If there is no error, I see there is this, I need to get path to installer. I'm building the field, the file, the path where I want to export the installer. And by exporting field contents from the container, oh, there is a problem. I think it's with the rights, maybe. What is the path here? Let's see. The path is, okay, same place. It should be local. I may have to just have it deleted here. Let's try again. Go here. Okay, now no error, and it has just exported the freshly downloaded installer of the new version 1.2. So there's no error, and here I can just perform script enable update in the installer. So now it opens, runs a script in the freshly extracted installer, which okay, so it may not be the one. Let's see what happens here. Okay, I can update it, install fresh copy. Let's update it. And okay, now I'm on the version 1.2. So for the first time, it didn't work because I have a script debugger open. Yeah, that's the problem. Because I had the script debugger open, the FileMaker did open the installer prior to checking the new version. So it opened the old installer, and that's why it wasn't able to overwrite it. If I run it without script debugger, it doesn't open the file until it tries to run the script in it. Do you get it? Is that clear?
Yeah, I thought so. Does everyone else follow that?
Yeah, this is an important glitch. If you have an external data source and you have a script which uses that external data source, if you open a script workspace or script debugger, immediately when you open that script, that external file gets open as well. But if you don't, if you just let it run, FileMaker will not open that external file until it needs it. So what this script does is it downloads a new version of the installer, exports it to the folder, and then it runs a script in that installer. And that installer, what it does, it closes the main file and overwrites it with a new version. So this way, I was able to update the app to version 1.2. So when I open the app again, you see it's version 1.2 build 3. And that's the whole principle of updating the app automatically without needing App Store update. And here I have the build for my iPhone already finished. So I can go there. And let's see if a reflector will work for me today. So I will share my screen from my iPhone. Okay, here we are. This is my iPhone. And when I scan the QR code here, I can install the app version 1.1. Install. Since we are waiting for the installation, I can use the little break to give you a little bit of fun. So
Okay.
Because it's the Apple's Fool's Day, I have something cool for you. And I came up with a FileMaker pain relief. So if you struggle with a lot of pains in FileMaker, here is what you can do about it. So if you go to layout mode, you can get rid of these two panes. If you go to scripts workspace, you can get rid of another two panes here. And if you go to data viewer and calculation dialog, there is another pane you can get rid of. Voila. Five panes removed. So that's FileMaker pain relief.
Oh, that's
Okay,
a pun.
so,
That's a pun.
So that was a little interruption, and now we have the app installed on my iPhone. So here I can run the app, and immediately it tells me, well, there is a new version, and you see in the top right corner that's version 1.1, and I can install a new version. So I hit install in this dialog. It takes a moment, and I see the installer of version 1.2. I can choose install fresh copy or update. Fresh copy replaces both the face and in the interface and the data file. Update replaces just the interface file. So if I hit install fresh copy, and here I am in app version 1.2 build 3. So that's how I automatically updated the app without having to go through any Apple's review process, just directly from my website. So that was the demo of updating an app, and
which is great.
Another time for questions. And I see David Angels asking, Xcode service is 99 a year. Sorry, David, no, it's 199 a year. But still, I believe it's nothing. The first time you make a build, you have already saved the cost that you pay for the year in comparison if you had to pay a developer to build your app manually using Xcode, I guess.
Does it include support?
Well, we provide the free support by email, and it's first come, first serve basis. But we can also provide paid support if you need more or higher level service by phone, by screen sharing, whatever. So if you don't mind waiting, just send us email or fill in your request in a form. Directly in Xcode here in the bottom, you have a link to support where you can go to product support, choose Xcode as your product, and type in whatever you want help with. If you want a quick support and you don't mind paying for it, you can even ask for immediate help here, and we will call you as soon as possible. So everything is possible. It's just on you what to choose.
Yep.
No more questions?
No, I think we're good at the moment.
Okay, so let's go back to Keynote here and a little bit about mobile device management. This is for like more advanced use and especially for people who need to deploy their apps to a larger amount of devices. Like if you have a customer with 100 users, you probably want to consider using MDM because installing the app on 100 devices manually may be pain in the ass. And MDM does not only simplify the installation and updates of your apps, it also lets you wipe the app from the devices when they are no longer supposed to be there, which is great for bring your own device model when users actually bring their own iPhones and want to have your app on them. And you have different choices. There are like, if I recall correctly, the last time I was checking, there were probably, if I'm not wrong, about 600 MDM solutions on the market. That's crazy. But the ones we have a little bit of experience with and which are among the most used ones are Apple Profile Manager, that's available from Apple. The disadvantage of Apple Profile Manager is that it supports only Apple devices. So if you also want to use MDM for Windows machines, which is definitely possible, then you have to choose a different MDM solution. Also, even though it supports larger amounts of devices, I have heard that it's not so good for more than 100 devices. So under 100, it's okay. If it's all Apple, it's probably the least expensive. I'm not sure if it's even free or if you just pay like $100 or $200 for the for the server app or something. But it's only for Apple. Cisco Meraki used to be our preferred solution. It has a great support. It performs very well. Has a lot of options. It works with different platforms, different devices. Installing app through that is extremely easy, regardless of whether you get the app from the Apple Business Manager or whether you just download the IPA manually, which is the option that you do have with Xcode. You could see on this download page for the ad hoc distribution that there is a download IPA link here. So that is another way how to use it. If you download the IPA manually, you can distribute it through the MDM. And MDM also collects the device IDs from all the devices, so it's not difficult to add those devices to your Apple developer account. And it actually does have a way to import devices from a text file. So adding devices, if you already have them under MDM, adding those devices to your developer account is quite easy. So ad hoc distribution for together with MDM is definitely not a bad idea. So here, when I go to devices and click add this button, there is actually, wait a minute, it was somewhere else. There is an import. Okay. Well, I cannot find it right now, but I know there is a way how to import devices from a text file. Oh, here it is. Sorry, I'm just blind. So devices here, if you click this choose file here, you can select the text file with the device IDs and you can upload them all at once. So if you want to use the ad hoc distribution and you have an MDM solution, this is a great way to do it. So Meraki, that's one that works pretty well. The reason why we were looking for alternative, I believe 2 years ago, they increased pricing significantly. So they had like a very affordable pricing, which was probably limited, I think, to I don't know if 100 devices or something like that. So it was a flat price, and up to 100 devices you could use it. Now you are paying a fee per device per year, and it's not a small fee. I don't recall exactly how much is it, but when looking for an alternative, we found Mosile. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And that's currently our preferred solution that we even teach in schools. It's least expensive than Cisco Meraki. It even says, it even claims to be the most full-featured MDM solution on the market. They have great support, and it's quite easy to use in comparison to what it's giving you. So if you have not used MDM solution before, I definitely suggest you give Mosile a try. All the schools that have Apple devices from us really like it. So that's MDM, which is mobile device management, and one of the many features that MDM provides is remotely installing one app to many devices. So that's a way how to distribute it within a company. Okay, now a few troubleshooting tips. If you build an app for iOS and you make it an native app, there are things that you may have to deal with which are not completely usual for other FileMaker deployments. So one thing to consider, expect users to have automated updates enabled. This is especially important with the iOS, with the system. Apple always encourages users to have automated updates enabled, which is kind of dangerous. And as developers, you probably already know that. What may happen is that if your app does work on the current version of iOS, the next version can break it. And if your users have automated updates enabled, it may be difficult to impossible for them to roll back to the previous version after they update. So they may actually have troubles running your app if they break it by installing update of the OS. So that's one thing to consider and be ready for. It's always good to train your users. If you have a chance to check whether they have automated updates enabled, it's good to make sure that they disable them. As with any custom software, it's always good if you have the control, if you tell them when is good time to update rather than having them to decide because they don't have enough information to make a good decision on that, typically. Another tip is collect logs, because especially when you distribute apps through the App Store, you will end up having your app installed on many devices you know nothing about. You don't know the environment, you don't know how the users will be using them, and it may be very difficult for you when they have issues to figure out what's causing those issues. So if you do something in your app that may fail, if it's good to collect logs even manually, like having a text file where you export logs every once in a while, because then if you have a button in your app that takes the text file and sends that to you by email, even with the consent of your user, which you should always obtain, it's much easier to provide them with assistance, because you can get the log from them. You probably already know how difficult it is to get information from the users when they have issues. So if you can collect information on your own in the app and provide a simple way how to send the information to you, do it. It's well worth the time that you put into it. Now, as I showed you, the structure of the app on the iOS is that the app has your FileMaker files in a read-only area. When you launch it, it copies all the files to a writable area, and that can be accessed unless you disable it through Finder, or in the past versions of macOS through iTunes or Windows. And that way you can actually grab copy of the FileMaker files. So if the user gets into trouble, you can always instruct them to take the copy of the modified FileMaker files, extract them from the device, zip them, and send them to you for analysis. Now, it's also good to have a way to reinstall the app without losing data. As I showed you the app installation method, and yesterday I was talking about using a version number as part of the name of the data file in a separation model. This is a good way to keep the data when you reinstall the app, because new version of the app only replaces or overwrites the files which have the same name. So, for instance, if once in a while you make a backup of your data simply by exporting the data into a file, that file will remain there until the user completely deletes the app. So you can have backup of the data on the device for the case you need it in case of emergency. Now, important mention about network. Users will be using your app in poor network conditions, and poor network conditions is really poor. It's impossible to imagine how poor network can be used, and I'll tell you from example. So our app used in Africa is intentionally built for a poor network. We have a synchronization mechanism that splits the data that needs to be transferred between the app and the server into very small chunks, so that even if the internet connection lasts for 1 minute or less, it can transfer at least part of the data, so that the next time we try, there is less data remaining to transfer. Even with this kind of mechanism, we had 5 installations of the app in the field, and the customer has successfully updated 3 of them, and the remaining 2 were waiting 4.5 weeks to get the device to a space with good enough internet connection to send the data over. 4.5 weeks. So if you think that, let's say, Edge is a poor network condition today, believe me, it can be much worse. So one thing that you can use on your side for testing poor network conditions is that you can use, at least on a Mac, if you have a FileMaker server installed on a Mac, you can install a tool from Apple, which is called Network Link Conditioner, and that tool lets you simulate poor network by limiting the bandwidth, increasing the ping time, the latency, and also you can set the packet loss ratio. So for instance, if you want to simulate the African network conditions, I would set the bandwidth to something like maybe 50 kilobits with 50% packet loss and 1 second latency or something like that. And that way you can test your solution, how it behaves when it has very poor network connection. But don't think only about Africa. One good example of poor network connection in our Western world is if you get the app in underground or tunnels or far from the nearest city, it will behave almost the same way as in Africa. Now, one extremely useful tip, and that's allow user abort off. Do you know that script step? Maybe a little poll. How many of you are regularly using this script step?
All the time, says Peter.
All the time.
Lynn
Great.
says yes. How about the rest of you?
Great reactions. Yeah, I'm glad you use it because the last thing, and let me try to share my iPhone screen again. I actually forgot.
Real quick, HOnza, can Bear ask you to repeat the step, please?
Okay, so the script step is allow user abort off. That's a special script step in FileMaker, and what it does is that once you use this script step, the user cannot interrupt your script on a Mac by pressing the command period, on Windows by pressing escape, on iPhone or iOS by tapping the screen. So when you run a script on iOS in FileMaker Go or the build app, just tapping on the screen will interrupt your script. So I will show you in my Solver app. Here I have a button to display a keyboard and type in a word manually. So if I quickly press the screen twice, now you see the dialog that appears when I try to tap a screen while a script is running. Okay, so stop execution of the current script. No, yes. You definitely don't want iOS users of your app to ever see this dialog, because they will say, what the hell does this mean? What kind of script am I running? They don't even know that your app is built with FileMaker. So you do want to make sure that when you deploy your app on the iOS, and I can show you that in the Word Solver. Where's my cursor? I have lost my cursor. So in here, when I go to scripts, now here's my pointer. So you see, I have this allow user abort off at the beginning of every single script, except the two where I forgot to add it. So this is actually a reason for me to update the app and release the update, because when a user tries to tap the screen while the script is running, even though the script runs only for less than a second, there is a chance to get the dialog appear, and that will confuse the users. So that's a very important tip for deploying your apps on iOS.
Yes, because the last thing, people have been saying they do use this, but yeah.
Okay, now a little bit about plugins. So key question, key tip. Don't worry, be happy. You can use plugins within iOS when you build the app using Xcode or the FileMaker iOS app SDK, and don't be afraid of using that, because using plugins will actually push the borders. You can do much more than without them. With Xcode, it's extremely easy to include plugins. So here, when you create a build, if you want to use a plugin from 2 4U, then it's just a matter of clicking a checkbox, and that's it. And the plugin will be included. Of course, you have to buy a license to use it in your app, but that's another story. That's the same with every plugin. If you have a plugin from a different vendor, such as MBS, I have it somewhere here. Let's see, MBS. Wrong folder. It was in download somewhere. Monkey Bread software plugin framework zip. So I just have to zip the plugin and drag and drop it here, and that will include the plugin in the app. So that's as easy as this. And then you just build the app and use the plugin in it. In order to be able to test your app with the plugin, you can use the opener, as I showed you yesterday or Wednesday. So basically, if you build the opener with all the plugins that you want to use, which I have tried with the MBS plugin as well, and I can quickly show here. So here again, I have this opener here. And when I tap this nice button and a calculation, you see I get the installed FM plugins as JSON, and here I have the MBS plugin version 12.1.0.08 installed in the app. So with this opener, I can just open any FileMaker database from my FileMaker server where I want to use the MBS plugin, and I can just use it. So that's about plugins.
We got a question. Any reason to not have every script also start with set error capture on, along with abort auth errors? Errors could also confuse the user.
Oh, that's a good point. If you deploy the app in the App Store, it's definitely a good idea to also capture all the errors. You're right. Good point. Thanks. So, that was about plugins. Now, a small note about integrating hardware. If you want to use a special hardware, which, by the way, is again a great reason to use a plugin and build your app as a native app, because you don't have, for instance, if you want to integrate a barcode scanner, you don't have to deal with like hidden fields and simulating the keyboard and dealing with all the possible weird situations where the scanner gets disconnected, or when it's actually used in a wrong time when your app is not ready for it. With plugin, you can set it up so that basically when you scan a barcode with the barcode scanner, it runs your script and passes the barcode to it as a parameter. So that's extremely convenient way how to integrate hardware. You need to be aware, however, of one thing. If the hardware is using cable, like lightning cable connection to your iPhone, or Bluetooth 3 or older version of Bluetooth, then the actual hardware device, the peripheral, needs to be registered with Apple under their MFI program. And for your app to be published on the App Store, you have to turn to the hardware vendor, tell them, hey, I'm going to use your hardware with my app. This is the details of my app, including bundle ID. This is the name of the app. This is the version. This is the description. And I need you to whitelist my app to be used with your hardware after it's published on the App Store. This process usually takes a few weeks, because it's typically handled manually. So you have to do it soon enough before you want to release your app. And what the hardware vendor then does is that they send you a so-called PPID, which is, I don't know exactly what that acronym means, but it's an ID of their whitelisting your app with Apple. And when you submit your app for review, you have to list all the PPIDs of the hardware that you want to integrate in the review notes for Apple. And then they will approve your app even when it's using the hardware. Good thing if it's a modern hardware that's connecting through Bluetooth LE, or if it's something that you connect to over Wi-Fi, you don't have to go through this complicated process. Now, offline syncing, we already touched it a little bit. We don't have much time to go into details too deeply, but as I mentioned, if you want to be ready for a poor network condition, you should probably forget native FileMaker server connection unless you will be using your app on the local network. A way to do it is using insert from URL, in which case you need to know about limits, like if you want to submit data, you want to use post because that's not limited to 2,000 characters. If you download the data into a field, make sure to be aware about the fact that on Go, and this is kind of clone of Go, text fields are limited to only 64,000 characters. So if you want to download more data, you have to either download it to container if it's a binary file, or to a variable if it's like base 64 encoded. It's usually faster if you download a file that export it to a local storage and import it rather than downloading a JSON and looping through it, but it depends on the structure of your data what will work better. If you want to make it easy, use MirrorSync or similar product for the syncing. If you want to fine-tune how it works and how fast it works, it's better to custom develop it for the specific use that you need it for. And as one of you mentioned with the set error capture on, here I have a note on that. Proper error handling is extremely important, and especially with syncing data, you need to make sure that if the syncing fails, you know that it failed and you don't lose any data. And that was it for today. We are a little bit over time, so here are the links to my files.
Which are great.
Feel free to download them, play with them, try them on your own. You can send me any questions by email. I will be great to help you even later. And if you want to recall something, if I was too fast in explaining things, there will be all the 5 days available on Richard Carlton's
on our YouTube channel.
So you can watch them again. And as I said on Monday, make sure to start registering your Apple developer account because it can take a few weeks. And I'm sure that you cannot wait to try it out as soon as possible.
We have one question, and I'm gonna let you be free, HOnza. I would like to deploy my app without going through the Apple Store. Is that doable? Maybe that was covered in earlier training.
It was covered in the earlier training.
I can't remember what day it was. What day was that?
Well, going through the App Store was actually day 3 and day 4.
Okay, so yeah, Blake, we did cover that earlier. Day 3 and day 4 aren't up yet. They'll probably be up sometime next week. So.
Okay, and I don't mind staying live longer. So feel free to ask more questions now. I have nothing else to do.
Remote opener is not in the App Store is from David Angel.
Yes, a good point. It's not on the App Store, and it won't be on the App Store because basically the remote opener is kind of simulating FileMaker Go. So if you try to put it on the App Store, it will be violation of the FileMaker terms because you will be basically mimicking FileMaker Go, which is not allowed by the license terms. But the opener, if you build the app with Xcode or the FileMaker iOS app SDK, is basically the best and only way how to quickly and easily test your app during the development if you use plugins. So that's the way how we always do it. We just build the opener with all our plugins, and when we are testing the plugins, we just run the opener, connect to the test file which we have on our FileMaker server, and any change we make through FileMaker Pro on that file is immediately reflected on the one running on our iOS device. So you can download the opener right now, use it for your own. The question works only through iOS device. Actually, the opener works everywhere. It's just a FileMaker app which uses a few scripts. So you can use it outside of iOS. You can use it on M1 Mac with the build app. If you find it useful for different cases, feel free to make a copy, modify it to your needs, whatever.
No, seriously, this has been a really awesome week, HOnza. We greatly appreciate having you on. I know that we have you scheduled to pop in for another server test sometime in May. But this entire week has been really fantastic. It has been an absolute joy having you with us and explaining all this cool stuff to us. So thank you very much.
Well, that was my pleasure. It was great to be with you, and I hope I will see a lot of apps built with FileMaker and Xcode appearing on the App Store, because it's a cool way how to put the apps on the App Store. And FileMaker is a great tool to build apps quite efficiently, which look great, work great, and provide value.
Yes.
So let's show the world what FileMaker can do by building apps and publishing them.
Absolutely. That's so cool. Seriously, this has been great. All right, thank you very much. I'm going to roll the closing music and let everyone go. Bye-bye.
Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir!